up, everybody? Welcome into Tom Curran's Patriots Talk Podcast. We got two great guests today. We have Logan Ryan, former Patriot and former Tennessee Titan under Mike Vrabel. And we have Jim Wyatt, longtime writer for the Tennessean. He covered Mike Vrabel. He'll tell you everything you need to know about Mike, good, bad, and the ugly. One of the interesting things you're going to hear from Jim Wyatt is, I asked him, why did they lose 18 out of 24 games? His answer might surprise you. Ladies and gentlemen, we now bring in Jim Wyatt, who's going to talk to us about firer's remorse and whether or not the Tennessee Titans or Titans fans are suffering from it now because Mike Vrabel was dismissed last year. He's now the Patriots head coach. Jimmy, thanks for being with us.
Tom, good to see you. Appreciate you having me.
You covered the Titans for how long now?
I've covered the Titans since the 1999 season. I did it for the Tennessean first from 99 through the 2014 season. I started working for the team in 2015 and been doing it ever since. So I've seen it from the outside, from the inside, covered a lot of head coaches. Mike Vrabel, one of them.
How was he?
I enjoyed Mike. Working for the team, you would think you'd get, he'd take it easy on you, but I don't think anybody escapes unscathed with Mike Vrabel. There are even times where he would bristle at some of my questions, maybe even some of the stuff I'd write from time to time. But I like dealing with him just because I heard too many stories. He's a great guy in the building, I think.
Sure.
And he loves his job and works hard and has a lot of pride. And he's a great football coach. But then been from Nashville, grown up in Nashville. I know some of the places he hung out. One of his sons went to my high school. Heard a lot of stories, from people in the community who interacted with Mike Vrabel and kept coming to me and saying, man, this guy's a great guy.
Solid
He's
guy.
like one of us. He chats with you standing on the fence post at the baseball games, and he'll talk to you while he's having a beer at the corner pub in Nashville, which is one of his spots. I don't feel like I'm blowing his cover because I got out there, I think, in the athletic story. But
Yep.
The guys that own that place, some of my buddies say he always used to hang out there and was great to people in there. So I like Mike Vrabel because I think he's a good person and he's a good coach. Just things didn't end the way he wanted them to in Tennessee.
Before we get to that portion of it, let's talk about the Patriots themselves and how quickly you see a team that you watched play against Tennessee this year that is really low on overall roster talent, but has a quarterback in place and has, an impassioned owner who really wants to return to prominence. How long do you think it might take Mike? What are going to be his first steps that you envision here in New England?
Well, the main thing is staying healthy and then them building around him. I like Drake Maye. I think he's a really good player, and having the quarterback is the biggest part of the equation because right now the Titans, who are picking first in the draft, not sure they have their quarterback. They haven't completely given up on Will Levis, but certainly he's had a couple of years to prove himself. He's not done it yet. Now they've got questions about whether they're going to pick one of these guys in the draft or sign somebody in free agency. The Patriots, again, have a quarterback. You got to build around him. I was with the Titans in 2015, which is Marcus Mariota's first year. He was picked second overall. And you always had hope for him at the start, even when things were bad, that he could potentially turn the fate of the franchise around. And he did that to some degree, but he got hurt. And he got sacked too much, and they didn't do a good enough job protecting him, and I think that set his career down a different path. I think once he broke his ankle down in Jacksonville, I think it was his second NFL season, and once he got sacked 50 times another year, I think it changed how he operated in the pocket. It changed how he was as a quarterback, and his time in Tennessee, he's never really found himself. I think with Drake Maye, they've got to keep him healthy, protect him, build around him, and if they do that, I think they got a coach who can turn it around.
Mike got a lot out of teams that seem to be less talented. Like, for instance, Ryan Tannehill was adrift when he was in Miami. They found a way to get him to be a Pro Bowl level player. Credit to him as well. Does Mike have a tendency to get more out of his talent than one would expect when it's all on paper?
I think so. The Titans set the record one year for playing the most players in an NFL season.
Forgot about that.
Yeah, and what he did with that year and with that team was remarkable because they had no business winning.
Go further into detail on that because that's something the Patriots used to be known for. They could cycle through a lot of players in their roster. Why were they able to have that kind of attrition and still succeed?
Yeah, I think part of it's, just because of the way the practice squad works, and you can develop players during the course of the season.
But they were developing. They were getting better.
They got better. Yeah, so coaching's a part of that, and then when guys went down, they signed them. I think part of it was they had to get good guys in personnel. Ryan Cowden's one of the guys coming aboard in New England who did a good job of scouting players, and there certainly was a whole pro personnel staff and scouting staff at the Titans, but they did a good job of finding guys that they could plug in. Like signing off the street, he'd start on Sunday and would play well. So Vrabel had a knack for getting the most of those type players. I think Mike's, what he didn't do is just finish the job of taking them from good to great, because that's what he was hired to do. He took over a team that was a playoff team, and ultimately ended up getting to the AFC Championship game one year. They were number 1 seed in the AFC another year, but just couldn't finally get over the hump, and then this thing's kind of unraveled his last 24 games with the team.
Do you think that, not necessarily the franchise, they've moved on to Callahan and they're doing their business there, but do you think that Titans fans in the Nashville area look at it as, oh, great, now the Patriots have Vrabel. We should still have Vrabel. The Patriots are going to end up being better than us in 2 years. Does that exist?
Well, it depends on who you ask. I mean, because there's a fraction of the fan base feels that way. Feels like they never should have let Mike Vrabel go. Felt like he's a really good coach, put in a tough situation, and hated it when he got fired. There was another group, and when you lose 18 of 24 games, and you lose 7 in a row one year, that knocks you out of playoff contention, and then the next year is a big disappointment, then people are ready to see him move on. And so there's a mixed feeling among Titans fans about what will happen here. I know certainly the people who watched Vrabel get hired by New England, that some of his supporters or the people that thought he shouldn't have got fired, they came out of the woodwork saying, oh, great, now he's going to go to New England. He's going to rebuild their program. He's going to come back in here in 2025 and beat the Titans on their home field and rub it in. I mean, Titans have had some tough memories of late with guys leaving, A.J. Brown, Derrick Henry, in the player department. Now here's a coach they think may do the same thing. But we'll see. I mean, it's you got to move on. Mike Vrabel's moved on from that. But certainly if Vrabel has success in Tennessee and the Titans are picking in the top part of the draft. Yeah, if Vrabel has success in New England and the Titans are picking early in the draft in the years to come, you can be sure that it's not going to be fun in Nashville. Yeah. Why
exactly did they only win 6 out of 24 games? What happened?
Yeah, I mean, I think, the 2022 team was sitting at 7-3 and leading the division. There was no way in the world they were not going to win the division and make the playoffs, and then they lost 1 game, then they lost 2.
Why were they starting to lose? Because there were Henry injuries, there were Tannehill injuries.
I mean, it was
Hopkins injuries, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, some injuries were a part of it, and you had Josh Dobbs starting the finale in Jacksonville to try to secure the playoff win, and he was signed a week or 2 before that game was even played. So part of it was they were banged up at quarterback and they were thin and running on fumes. Part of it is guys were worn down, I think, through the course of that season. They didn't do a good enough job in several areas, and then the following season it was kind of more the same, and that's more than anything what led to his departure. Obviously there were some behind-the-scenes things going on. Didn't see eye to eye with some people in the building. Didn't see eye to eye with maybe some of the moves that they had made in the front office. But when you go, lose 7 in a row and then you finish 6-11 the next season, that kind of invites change, and that's kind of what happened with Mike in Tennessee.
When we look at that slide and the team going south, you mentioned maybe they were a little run down. Can players still respond to a guy like Mike Vrabel, who's probably a hardline coach? He might be empathetic,
yeah, he is.
But he's going to put you through a pretty arduous training camp, practices, expectations. Did players just eventually start to not respond to his bedside manner?
Some did, yeah. I mean, I know of some players that certainly felt like he pushed them too hard and just had expectations were too much for them during the course of the season, and at the end they were worn down. I mean, I wonder about Dan Campbell in Detroit, the way he coaches and the way he gets his teams to play. They have had a tendency to kind of get beaten up and wearing down and haven't made it as far as they'd hoped. But certainly Mike Vrabel can find other ways, even if guys are worn down in the course of the season, he can find other ways to jumpstart them and to coach them up. I mean, I will say I've never seen a coach like him on the field as far as getting hands-on with guys at every position group, holding the pad, got his nose nicked up, blood running down his face one time. He's a hardcore football coach, and he demands excellence and demands perfection, and not everybody can do it. Like, his story. You covered his career. He went from being a guy who was was he a fourth round draft pick?
Fourth round pick for Pittsburgh, and good player there.
Yeah, didn't make it there, kind of unheralded, and then he worked his butt off to get to the position he was in, and so he expects everybody to do that.
Yeah.
So some people can't live up to that, and so some people are built to be coached by Mike Vrabel. Others maybe will have to get used to it.
We're going to find out pretty quick.
Because I don't in Pittsburgh. I think he'll change some. I think he learned some from things that happened in Tennessee, but I think you're still going to see the tough, hard-nosed coach that is a good team builder and certainly a guy who will motivate players to play well.
All right, Jumbo Gumbo.
What do we have here?
I want you to fish out one football with the ladle.
I'm going to pull out number 8 since we were just talking about Marcus Mariota here.
I thought Tannehill was 8.
He was
19?
He was 17, yeah. So let's go 8.
You asked me about anybody. You asked me about a 1970s running back, Lydell Mitchell. He wore 26 for the Colts.
That's right.
You knew that too?
Yeah, but for the Colts?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. That's when I first started watching football.
Same. Roger Carr wearing 81. All right, that was number 8. The question is, go-to karaoke song for Jim Wyatt. Your go-to karaoke song.
Let's go Funky Cole Medina by Tone Loc.
I didn't think you said funky for a second.
Either that or
I was processing.
either that or Wild Thing. Maybe one of those Tone Loc 80s
Tone
songs.
Loc, yeah. We are definitely at the same vintage. Yeah. Give me that bleeping Cold Medina. I had no idea. Jim, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we're bringing in Logan Ryan now, longtime Patriots cornerback. He also went to the Tennessee Titans, and when he was there, he was coached by the one and only Mike Vrabel.
Yeah.
First things first, how are you?
I'm great. You got to mention my rings. Can we say two rings?
2 rings.
There we go.
14 and 16?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
14 and 16. Which one do you like better?
16. I
Why?
like 16 because I felt like in 14 I had a role on the team, but at 16 I felt like I was a guy on the team, so I just felt like I contributed more. Both of them I contributed my best, but I felt like 16 I was definitely more of a guy.
Was 16 the year you guys played in San Francisco? Or was that 17?
I think that was 16.
I think so too. Kaepernick
Yep.
was the quarterback.
Yep.
And I remember, I think you had a good game there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just walking down my own personal memory lane.
That was a year where they traded Jamie Collins.
Yep.
Right? I felt like my name might have been on the trade box, so they didn't know if I was going to resign or they're going to resign me or whatnot. And, so things got kind of shaky with my playing time. Some games I was starting, some games I wasn't. And in that San Francisco game, I really played really well. And I started every game after that, full through the playoffs. And look at my guy, Malcolm Butler, right here. Beezy.
He makes everything.
Come on, bro. Hop on over. 10 years ago. Wow, Malcolm Butler sighting.
See? Now that might
small world.
You can't tell him.
You can't bring the whole band back.
You can't tell him that 16 is your favorite Super Bowl.
Look, you got Gonzalez. You can bring me back in the slot. You can bring Malcolm back for a few plays in the red area. I don't think he can play every game now, but in the red area.
No, he's good in the slot.
Yeah, in the red area. No, you want to see him in the slot. You don't want to see him. Can't play
So, you're now in. You're on our
your
side of things. Yeah.
Yeah, the dark side.
How do you like it?
I love it, man, because I love calling games because it's a form of media where you can talk ball, but you don't have to. I don't love the debate side of it. I don't want to pick Jalen Hurts or Mahomes, who has more to lose, and I don't always like that debate show angle. So I like when I call games, I could spread love and talk about the positive and the negative of the players, but it's not so everything has to be so harsh, like some of
There's
those
so
shows.
much more nuance sometimes, and we get into that all the time because we're covering the team, and people, well, why does this guy suck? Well, he doesn't really suck.
Yeah.
It's just the circumstances that he's in. Sometimes he does suck, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, he's like he's the 40th best in the world at his job, which isn't as good enough for what you want to see, but he's still pretty good. He doesn't suck at all. No player in the NFL really sucks. So, yeah, there's that. But, yeah, so much is circumstance, right? What's the scheme? What's the fit? How's the coach using him? Coaches have more say and more reason in football for success than any other sport because every play starts from a dead ball, right? Imagine every single play in basketball being an out-of-bounds play. Well, the coach really matters there.
Yep.
Imagine in soccer, every single play be a corner kick, right? Well, that really matters. But guess what? Messi gets a lot of free play out there, right? Luka Doncic just got traded. He gets a lot of free play out there. He can call the pick and roll when he wants. Steph Curry can play with a lot of nuance. We start every play from a dead ball. So our coaches matter about players' success so much more than any other sport.
What will Mike Vrabel be looking for in a player to ensure that that player will succeed?
Vrabel's saying is, I'm going to treat you how you treat the team. He wants players that care about the team now. Like, he's not going to deal with the divas and the egos. He doesn't deal with that. But he gets the best out of his players, not always with force. I think he loved up on Jeff Simmons a lot. We thought Jeff Simmons got a lot of love. But Jeff Simmons played really well. A.J. Brown was one of his favorites. A.J. Brown played really well. He got the best out of Ryan Tannehill. Derrick Henry was rushing for 2K. I had some good years. Malcolm was playing pretty well there. So he got the best out of his best players, and you need that to win. He understands that as a leader. So I feel like the Patriots, I think their best players, hopefully gets the best out of Drake Maye, Christian Gonzalez. I think all those guys should take steps under Mike Vrabel.
A guy like Kyle Duggar, for instance. He had a down year this year,
Right.
but 2 years ago he was, Pro Bowl worthy, even All-Pro consideration worthy. I mean, he was a tremendous player. I look at guys like that who might have dipped as being guys that Vrabel can reach, because right now there's not a lot of what you would call lieutenants as he comes in.
Yeah.
And say, okay, I'm going to empower you as a player to take care of things here, whether it be David Andrews or whether it be Jawan Bentley, for instance.
He's going to even the playing field, just like Belichick did at times. He's going to take all lieutenants out. Everyone's going to be soldiers, and then they're going to have to earn that job in camp to earn that back. And I think, for Kyle Duggar's sake, the hardest thing in this league is consistency. Like, you can have 1 year, but how do you do it every single year? You can be healthy 1 year, but how are you healthy 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years in a row, like a Devin McCourty, right? Consistency is so overrated, right? You might get Devin McCourty might have been playing 13 years. He might have 3 Pro Bowls, but he really was a consistent top safety for 13 years. Yep. And that is really hard to do. It's boring. It's monotonous. It's work on your body. It's work in the weight room. It's work at practicing every week. It's work at playing consistent. And I think that's what Vrabel understood being a player, is how hard it is to be consistent. I think that's what he's going to get out of his players.
One thing that I've always kind of found maddening is somebody who's, knows the game well from having covered it, but doesn't necessarily understand the stuff that goes on snap to snap, before the snap, when the offense is trying to confuse you.
Yeah.
How could you get to week 14 or 15 in a season and have people say, yeah, we just didn't communicate. Our communication wasn't there? Because that's always seemed to me, and we heard that a lot here in New England this year, that's always seemed to me like the first thing that you can fix is communication.
Yeah, because it's a choice, right? Like, I will go into a team and, we'll have somebody's, like the safety's jobs to say, one safety to say the personnel, the other safety says down and distance. And that's so monotonous every play of the game. 11 personnel, 3rd and 5. 3rd and 5, everyone's 3rd and 5. So don't jump off sides. Right? Someone jumps off sides, well, that's on that player's fault. Well, no, that's on that safety spot. Did you remind them the down and distance? Everybody has a role every play. And when I was on, Vrabel did this and Belichick did as well, in the meetings, there's loud meetings. When you put up film, all right, Logan, what's the personnel? What's the down and distance? What are we expecting? Watch the shot. Malcolm, back up, play off. 3rd and 10. Don't fall for the double move. Get off, Malcolm. Right? So I'm helping Malcolm out by communicating. In the meeting.
In an auditorium.
And then so we get to the game, that's not the first time we're doing that. Right? So I've been on teams that don't do that, and then I've been on some championship teams that do that. And it's everyone buying in, because that sounds good for the first week, but when you're in week 20, and you're tired, and you're kind of sick, under the weather, and you kind of have a sprained ankle, and you're kind of really sleepy, you don't really feel like talking. Well, that day you got to talk too.
With Vrabel, impossible to say, I'm going to ask it anyway. How long will this take? It's not a good team, Logan.
Yeah. I think winning can happen quickly. I think there's teams, how long did it take Dan Campbell in Detroit?
The Commanders this year.
The Commanders, right? If Drake Maye is that guy, which we seem to think, but we got to see it this year, it can happen quickly. You look at the division, where are the Jets at, where are the Dolphins at, and the way we look at things in the NFL is you got to win your division. That's going to be hard with the Bills. But if you can compete at the top of it, then you're fighting for a playoff spot. If you get a playoff spot first year as a coach, that's a really successful job. So he's going to find a way to take out the Bills. His only is how do I win a division, stay ahead of my division to get a chance in the playoffs.
What do you like about Drake Maye from having seen him, and did he surprise you a bit?
I liked him in college. Like, I heard good things about him in college, and the draft process happened, and then people just started tanking him for some reason. I don't know what it was. I was like, I don't know about this guy.
Looking at the fundamentals.
Right. I mean, all the gurus come in, right? All the draft gurus come in, and maybe you start hating on some quarterbacks for some reason. But I like that he played well. Every game he played with not a lot around him. Like, they didn't win every game he played, but he didn't play bad. He was 18 for 22 for this and no picks and whatever, a touchdown, right? So, yeah, he didn't light it up, but he didn't play bad. He played well in every situation. When he was behind, he played well. When it was a tight game, he played pretty well. Obviously, I think he's got to protect himself a little better. He's got to understand his health. But to play well in a bad situation around you when other people aren't playing well, you got to be a good player to do that.
Speaking of bad situations, you're close, I'm imagining, with Jerod Mayo, the time you guys spent together on the same thing. He was obviously put into a difficult situation as an inexperienced head coach and an inexperienced group of coaches around him and a roster that wasn't that great. What was your takeaway on how things went for him?
Well, I get a former player or someone that knows Jerod that will disagree with me. I think we're all on the same stance here. Give me what first-time head coach is experience. Everyone's inexperienced when they first-time head coach, right? It's a different job. And he obviously wasn't given the time to succeed at it. Like, we know that. Why Kraft made a decision, was it to get Vrabel? This is his only chance, is what Robert Kraft knows. Do I think Vrabel's a great coach? I do. But for Jerod's sake, yeah, I think he was put in a position to, I don't say fail, but he just couldn't succeed this year. He didn't have the pieces.
Right.
He didn't identify Drake Maye early enough, and Drake Maye didn't have enough to win games. You need more than that in the NFL to win. It's the most competitive league in sports. So he got a raw deal in it, however it ended up, and I think a lot of us support him in that, and we definitely, want to voice that I'm not saying it was or wasn't his fault, but he didn't get enough time.
Right.
Look at a lot of these great head coaches, look at their first year, when it's not much different than Jerod Mayo's.
And it's so difficult, too, because it's not, Jerod's team went 4-13 this year, but the Patriots team had gone whatever the hell they were the year before.
Like 6 wins or something?
Four, I think, again.
Yeah.
4-13 then. So you got back-to-back 4-13.
Well, they didn't spend money for him either, right? They withheld the money. They didn't. I don't know their cap situation better than me.
Cap situation is great. It's just free agency sometimes sucks.
Yeah, so
guys don't get to free agency like they used to. That's a whole different conversation.
Yeah, so they didn't really bring in the players.
Right.
And I think fans are smart. Fans know, like, look, we don't have the players this year. We just got to find our quarterback, which they did, right? And now they have good draft capital and picks. Now they'll come. Right? Money, they will come.
It sucks to take the bruising, the bumps, bruises, and everything else that Jerod had to this year and then not be able to see the payoff. But you understand what they're saying. Okay, well, is it getting better or is it getting worse? You're going to love this.
Oh, yeah, I'm excited. I don't know what this is.
This is called the Jumbo Gumbo, ladies and gentlemen. You're going to actually fish out one football for yourself, and I'm going to have a corresponding question to pose to you. This is the best part of the program, Logan.
I cheated and I looked.
You are looking.
And I took 26.
You were 26 at some point.
Because that was my jersey number.
The whole time?
Yeah, and every year except for the 1 year I played with Saquon, or the years I played with Saquon. And I was going to change my number. I was given 26. I asked for a different number. The Pats didn't care. They gave me 26.
They don't care.
And then I saw Logan International Airport, exit 26. And I was assigned to keep that number. And that's how it became my number in the NFL.
The corresponding question to number 26 right on there is, what celebrity narrator would you want to narrate your life story?
I feel like Morgan Freeman's played out. I think it's
SpongeBob?
I don't know why I thought Byron Gumbel.
All right, Bryant Gumbel. You want to go with Bryant Gumbel? That's fair. He does this thing where he takes off his glasses and chews on the handle, so we could actually have a second camera on him.
Well, I think I believe in taking football serious. I take my life very serious. I like to have fun, but I'm serious about what I do in this career, in my previous career. I'm serious about how I parent, serious about being there for my wife. So I think he's a serious narrator for a serious story.
You know what? I like that. It was too serious for me, though. Fish out another one.
It was too serious of an answer for him. He's like,
well, the whole thing was
he's like,
a serious. It's always going to be Morgan Freeman.
Well,
I want Morgan Freeman.
I do have a Sirius XM radio show, so maybe that was a plug there.
Good point.
There we go. 3.
Oh, good. 3. This better be good. But what are you willing to overspend for when it comes to quality?
Like material things or what?
Yeah, material things. I mean, if you want to overspend on a hotel or a flight, that makes sense too. But I mean,
I'm a bougie traveler. I don't spend a lot. I don't have a lot of jewelry on or anything. But I when they put us in camp with the, it's funny. Martellus Bennett used to say it. When they put us in camp at the hotel, and he's like, "Bill, I can't stay here. There's popcorn ceilings." And I didn't get what he was talking about. I'm like, Marty, it's Foxborough. Who cares? But now, when I've played a couple years in this league and earned some money and saved it, and CBS puts me in a hotel with popcorn ceilings, I get what he was talking about.
Yeah.
I need a 4-star or better. So I would say I can't pay for a popcorn ceiling hotel.
I like that. It makes a lot of sense because there is an element of comfort that you have to have. If you're going to spend the money to be on vacation, you want to be able to put your head down at night and say, this is a good spot.
A vacation, yeah. That's something better than my house.
I'm going to go steak.
Steak?
I'm going to overspend on steak.
I think steak is extremely overpriced.
Yeah, but
isn't
I'm still
steak
gonna
like
spend too much
$7 at the grocery store? You go to this steakhouse, you're paying $150 for something. I think that's already overpriced.
Are you a vegan?
No. Are you a vegan? Like
I know vegan.
Like one of those,
Are you a vegan?
Are you one of those vegans?
Are you one of those vegans? It's like
Like you asked me, like, am I a vampire?
like
Like, are you a
18
vegan?
They're like $19 a pound. Where are you getting $7
No, I'm not.
steaks?
I tried eating vegan for a year. It was very expensive.
It's
And-
expensive?
Yeah, it was. Oh yeah, it's very
Were you
expensive to
hungry
be
all the
vegan.
time?
No, actually, it was like I was eating like a vegan triple cheesesteak. It just wasn't real meat, and I'm like, I'm gluttonous. It was too much food because you got to get the calories in. So I'm pescatarian, so I eat. It's a fancy way to eat. I eat fish. Well, I eat chicken, so I'm not truly pescatarian. I just don't eat red meat, so I don't eat beef or pork.
See, I knew he didn't have any idea how much steak cost.
Steak's expensive in a
I
steak
caught him
house.
on that. All right, Logan Ryan, thank you so much for the
Appreciate
time,
it.
and congratulations on everything post-football.
Appreciate you, buddy. Thank you.
All right, so that's a wrap for today's Tom Curran Patriots Talk Podcast. We'll have so many more guests, more entertainment, and Phil Perry and I going head-to-head in myriad competitions. That's for our YouTube crowd. For our podcast crowd, if you have a chance, go home, give your wife a kiss on the cheek, pat the kid on the head, and say, I got to go watch Tom and Phil compete on YouTube.